Whoever does not love me does not keep my words. The word that you hear is not mine, but is from the Father who sent me. I have said these things to you while I am still with you. But the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and remind you of all that I have said to you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. So do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid. You heard me say to you, I am going away and I am coming to you. If you loved me, you would rejoice that I am going to the Father, because the Father is greater than I. Now I have told you this before it occurs, so that when it does occur, you may believe. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I'm of Slovenian descent, so when it comes to Sunday lunch, which is the most important meal of the week, there has to be soup. It's not our proper meal without soup. And so, I mean, for those who appreciate what it takes to make soup will realize it's a messy endeavor. I'm going to take old bones. So for my instance, I made soup recently, so I had to use rib bones I saved, chicken wings, beef bones. So I had the bones, and I take some vegetables and put into a pot. And so it's strange to get soup out of vegetables and out of the ribs, the bones. But it also takes water, heat, and also a strainer in order to make what is a mess into a new creation. And again, going back and seeing the mash as it cooks for, let's say, 12 hours, the longer the better. Again, it's not a beautiful endeavor. It is messy. Not only the mash, but also having to clean up after. However, when one keeps the eye on the prize, the new creation, the messiness is okay. Likewise with us, when the Holy Spirit comes into us, He creates in the midst of the messiness of life. Our first reading, as we continue reading from Acts of the Apostles, profiles the church from the time of Christ's ascension, which we'll celebrate next week in about the year 33, until Paul goes to Rome, where he's imprisoned about the year 60. So that about 28 to 30 year period profiles what happens to the church as it grows. And I think a lot of us would love to be back in that time of Acts of the Apostles. Hey, the freshness of the message of Jesus, and to be with his first disciples. But I think we overlook that we see the final product because we have faith here in Chestermere 2,000 years later, and we overlook the messiness of the formation of the church. I mean, to imagine ourselves, okay, Jesus ascends into heaven, what in the world do we do next? In Matthew's Gospel, Jesus says to his disciples at the end, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them and reminding them of all that I've taught you. Well, how do we do it? How they did it? They entered into messiness. What I mean by that is there were crises from within the church, and there were persecutions from without. So how can a good God allow the mess of what's going on and to bring some good out of it? I think our example today is a fine way that demonstrates the Lord recreates in the midst of messiness. So last week we encountered Paul and Barnabas concluding their first missionary journey. Now they're coming back to Jerusalem. Why? It's because there are problems, crises, a mess. What do we do with all these Gentiles, non-Jews accepting the faith? How do they become part of the church? Because the church obviously was founded with Jewish origins. All the apostles were Jewish. So how do the Gentiles mix in with the Jewish people? It's like it's a mess, like to form a new soup. And so we see what happens, and remarkably, in the letter that Paul and Barnabas used to go out to reaffirm the faith of the Gentiles, is it says that the Holy Spirit has deemed it so, and us to judge what should happen to the Gentile Christians. I mean, because the Jewish disciples wanted them to follow the Mosaic law and also to be circumcised. And Paul and Barnabas said, whoa, 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 whoa. They don't have to do it. And so there's a debate. It's messy. How do we reconcile this? And ultimately, the presence of the Spirit guides them to take the Jews, the Gentiles, the messiness of trying to bring them into a new creation, into the church. And so this new creation comes again out of the messiness of that. And so the Holy Spirit recreates in the midst of messiness. And so we're the beneficiaries of that first council, the council in Jerusalem. So there have been about 20 what's called ecumenical councils. The whole church has come together to debate about different issues. The last was in the 1960s, the Second Vatican Council. So these councils have to undergo the messiness, but then some new creation comes out of that. Now what about us? I'm sure if I would ask everyone here, what's going on in your life, I'm sure you would relate the messiness to crises. For some people, having lost a job. For some people, financial insecurity, anxiety, health problems. You think, how can a good God allow all these problems to take place in my life? You know, the common question, why do bad things happen to good people? And I think we have to see the wisdom of Acts of the Apostles, the many crises and persecutions that the early church experienced, but the Holy Spirit was always with them, and it became a new creation in the midst of the messiness. So what kind of wisdom can we take from the experience of the early church at this first council in Jerusalem? I think one thing is they realized to be isolated is dangerous. Just like soup is not good if it's just bones alone and vegetables. But when the two come together, great things happen. And I think even with the combination of that is to realize separate we can't do anything. I mean, we look at our Christian heritage right now, the separation after the Protestant Reformation is because people thought, I'm going to do my own thing. It's like, whoa, we got to be together. So even for the early church to say, there's a big crisis, this is messy, what do we do to resolve it? And so they came together to discuss it. I think also I think what we can learn from the messiness of our own personal lives or even outside of our own lives is to invoke the Holy Spirit. So in our first reading it said that it seemed good to us from the Holy Spirit. Well, how did the Holy Spirit console the early church in the midst of this messiness, reconciling the Jews and the Gentiles to become one church? I think just like with soup, we need water, we need heat, we need a strainer. So with the water was almost like the quenching presence of the Holy Spirit, like water. Paul in his first letter to the Corinthians says that we were baptized into the Holy Spirit to form one body, and we drink of the one Spirit. So when they were resolving the early church about what to do with this messy problem, the Holy Spirit must have come down like water upon them. And also, as we will hear two Sundays from today about Pentecost, the Holy Spirit came down in fire to almost console them and to give them warmth. I think also the Holy Spirit acts as a strainer. When one is taking the mash of boiled soup, you need the strainer in order to get rid of all the stuff, get the soup, and then throw the stuff out and then have the new creation, the soup. In our gospel today, Jesus speaks about what the Holy Spirit will do, that he kind of is that strainer. He will guide you into all truth, and he will remind you of all that I've taught you. So Holy Spirit is like water, he's like a fiery presence, and he's also a strainer, help with discerning what to do in messy situations. I think we can take it upon ourselves as well. St. Paul says in this first letter to the Thessalonians, he says, pray without ceasing. So as the early church was together to resolve issues, they also prayed without ceasing. To invoke the Holy Spirit, say, Holy Spirit, come and help me. Give me some warmth. Refresh me with water. Help me discern what to do in this situation. And so what happens when it seems right that the Holy Spirit judges what to do in situations? Galatians chapter 5 speaks about the fruits of the Holy Spirit. Peace, patience, kindness, generosity, self-control, and so on and so forth. Gentleness. So we know when the Holy Spirit is there, when there is peace, when there's joy, when there's kindness, generosity. It's kind of like this calm presence. And so in the messiness of whatever each one of us is experiencing as a parish or as a global world, we have to trust the Holy Spirit is there in the midst of the messiness to bring a new creation. So for those who will enjoy a bowl of soup today with your meal, is to appreciate, boy, in order to get the final product, it was a whole messy endeavor. Bones, vegetables, water, fire, and a strainer in order to get this wonderful bowl of soup. I think likewise for us too. Let us invoke the Holy Spirit that He may be this comforting heat, that presence, the refreshment of water, and kind of help us discern what to do. And by invoking the Holy Spirit in the messiness of our lives, that He will form a new creation for us.